Deadpool XForce is a ton of fun. Hello everybody, welcome to a update video type thing. So as a lot of you know, the new update has gone in, and as well Deadpool XForce and Yondu have been receiving their various and different types of buffs. Now I've had a bit of fun playing around with this champion. I've put together the synergy, which is right here, consisting of Psycho Man, Massacre, Domino and Hitmonkey. Why? Well, if you go to and link in the description to Aunt May, you'll get a whole host of different types of synergy pair-ups, which are quite nice, especially having the likes of like some of my favorites, E's and R, having a non-stacking armor break debuff when you do a heavy attack. Very handy because part of the rotation and kit at Deadpool XForce is that, you know, doing an armor break and doing a heavy attack a certain amount of slap charges means big amounts of bleed debuffs, which is really great. And also we've got a few others, like having Domino increases bleed damage by 20%. A Mega Red is a bit of an iffy one there with 25% power rate against bleeding opponents. Sort of handy, but at the same time it depends on how you want to rotate around the champion, which you're going to see in a minute. And there are a few others which I just kind of like decided that I like the ones that I kind of put in. I mean, Inspiration's just there to increase the critical rating by 200%, but I could have like taken it out and added in, I don't know, something else potentially. So yeah, maybe Inspiration is take or leave type synergy with that one. But interesting. I decided to kind of like play with the champion first of all. Like I don't really know what I'm doing, but then I decided to kind of like look at what is important about this champion. So the main thing is about bleeding, and especially when it comes to high hit pool fights. I'm finding that SP3 rotations interest me the most, especially when it comes to the Vicious buff, which increases the potency of damage over time debuffs by 75% for 25 seconds. While its effect is active, all taunt debuffs on the opponent are paused. Handy. Taunts are kind of like handy to a degree with stuff, but it's not really kind of like my main focus. My main focus was SP3 and then heavy attack. But there's so many things I like about this champion. I'm going to showcase some footage in a second. But yeah, I just love the way that the champion, if you let it kind of wander out, it does skipping. I mean, it does skipping animation, which I think is just sick. But like, there's other stuff as well. So I'm just going to like just bring the champion into a fight, and then we'll showcase the footage of the fight I want to show. But yeah, like just in a little bit of a live play type thing. I love this. Just that skipping towards stuff is just so cool. Building those skipping charges, no, those slapping charges, sorry, because they're slapping charges. You've got to like let yourself kind of like list it out, which is very difficult at times with the stated MCOC and, you know, inputs. But you like, you know, maybe a little bit of a tip with this is kind of like do a parry, so do a stun attack, come back, and it gives you a bit of time to like come through. That wasn't a good example, but that's the kind of point I'm coming to. Is like you're trying to do like a parry at distance, or let yourself just kind of like lister and kind of like flow with the enemy AI. It's always great when inputs work, and then that's kind of like doing the bleed attack there. That nice amount of like burst debuffs. Which to be honest, it's very handy with anytime particular node. I think it's diss track, isn't it? So if you've got anything like diss track or requires you whittle down as well as another kind of example of that. It is kind of like a good showcase of like how that works in kind of like an idea of throwing a load of debuffs on at the same time. If you could retain a load of buffs on Deadpool XForce, he would be a good counter, a good champion for if you had to have buffed up and whittled down or kind of like diss track. Similar to what was on this month, because there was that. Right, okay, enough of that. Right, let's kind of like get into showcasing the champion against Winter Soldier based fight. I also should have mentioned that this is a rank 1 6-star champion, and that's just the thing. Like I always like try and test out these buffs a little bit more before I think about ranking them up. I am considering this champion up to at least rank 2, maybe rank 3 down the line. It is a cool champion, but let's face it, what are we like a couple hours into this buff actually kind of going out, and making a decision to completely rank up a champion is down to a personal preference. So maybe down the line I will indeed do that, or maybe with like an awakening or something. So the interesting thing about this champion, as I said, one thing I absolutely love about it is that building up of slap charges, which is very easy to do. And as I said, the idea of kind of like going into a parry state, going back, and then trying to I don't know, let yourself skip through into it like there. That's a good example of that. Get that stun, allows you to create distance to then do that kind of like rotation in. But the rotation I was looking to do was indeed go to SP3 first and foremost. And second time I try this out, it goes through the second try. And I think the idea may be to have something that builds my power quite quickly to rotate around like SP3 to then SP2, but I like the idea of SP1 because it's like you're doing, like here, like we've done like the build up, we've got Vicious done on at the same time, throwing an SP1 whilst in Vicious, and I needed to play about, I think, with the rotation of watching that Vicious buff in the top left hand corner as to, do I have enough time to throw in an SP2? Now possibly that is the case. If I'm quick and I get the rotation in, then maybe you'll be able to do an SP3, an SP2, or do SP3, do the slap charge on the heavy attack, then do an SP2 in order to build up to you know, a great amount of damage. And that may be the rotation to actually try out in this particular instance. It's kind of like, it's always very much on the fence when you get new champions as to what is the best kind of like rotation to try with it. And especially with the SP1 giving a good chance of dealing a huge chunk of direct damage over 6 seconds. The SP2, however, it's listed as Fave Attack. As a defender, he is 100% more likely to blah 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 blah. If Deadpool successfully lands all hits during the attack, he has 100% chance to inflict stun passive. So it's a case of like, what does the SP2 do for you? Is it a case of getting like more damage potential with like crits or whatever? Or is it a case of kind of like, right, well, let's rotate SP1s? And I kind of think that's down to you as to what that does. If you've got a certain synergy that if you are doing bleed potency, or by bleed equals power gain with the Omega Red synergy, then that is going to be the rotation that you might want to kind of try out for it. And I kind of like the SP1 rotation than I would do with, say, an SP2, just in the extent of damage that I could do in that length of time. If I was very quick, maybe it's a case I go from an SP1, SP1, like SP3, heavy attack, SP1, SP1, or I try and see if it's possible to do 2 sets of slap charges in a very kind of quick succession. Bit of an iffy one. There was an SP2 right there. Did it look like a huge amount of damage? No. But this is all about experimentation, isn't it? This is a rank 1 6-star champion, and I wasn't really expecting anything kind of like too great from this. But as I said, the idea is that we maybe do that SP1 rotation. We do the if the champion is known for lots of bleed debuffs, then let's play into it. Let's do that rotation. Got to be honest, by this time in the fight, I kind of lose my what's the word? My momentum, like the momentum of kind of like going and doing this kind of double. It just downs a little bit, but the slap charge is still there. The SP2, even though it does a good amount of damage right there, I just kind of like I'm on the fence with throwing the SP2 versus the SP1 rotation. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I probably could have tidied this up a little bit more, less hits. But I love that ending animation is really amazing. So I think Kabam have done a great job with this champion. I love the extended bleed debuffs you can do, but I think for me, I'm going to play about with the idea of throwing SP3 for the vicious buff, throw that slap charge or the slap charges because it increases my bleed damage based on you know, what's in game. 100% chance of vicious debuff, 75% damage over time, potency improvements. I think that's the best way to go with it. But then it's down to like, how do you feel this champion should go with rotation? And I think deep wounds do massively help out for this champion as well. Certainly helps for Suicide Mastery users as well who want to just go and rotate around SP3s. But then the problem is you're not throwing SP1s. So it's always on the fence whether or not, you know, that's the best method. But at least you can change how you want to play the narrative of the champion. But still, I just want to like say that this champion's a lot of fun. I'm so glad Kabam did the changes they did to him. And it is strong rank 2 for me. I am considering a rank 3, maybe if I awaken it down the line. But as I say, that awakened ability is kind of important if you want to have quick rotations around building up is it power gain? Yeah, building up power gain, and that's helpful for rotations. So I don't know if you can, if you do it really on point, you've got 200 signature version. It'd be interesting to see the footage, how quick you might be able to rotate around the SP3s, because in theory it doesn't say that it does not stack. So it could be in theory that you're able to go from SP3 in that time to rotate around another SP3. That would be interesting. So what I thought I'd do for the video is, just before ending it, I wanted to give a go. I just tried the 2 stackable vicious buffs. They didn't stack for some reason. I don't know, and there should have been at least a small window for that to actually work, and sadly didn't. But at least to kind of like say the other theory of like the double stacking of the SP1, so SP1 rotation after an SP3 and then slap, seemed to work quite well. So I think that's probably it. If I find a better way to kind of like stack, which may be unlocking that signature ability in specific types of fights and interactions, it may be the way to go with the champion. But as I said, I love the way that you can just like skip and then kind of like get it done. But yeah, I'm just gonna end the video there, especially as good as I can get those level 3 health potions, which is a nice little kind of like grab in the same time. So it is what it is. In any case, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you all very soon for some other content. Please support the channel, check out some other content located on the screen right now, and yeah, probably do a Yondu video and then some other stuff as well. So cheers everybody, see you soon, bye bye.